Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning. I'm Colin Weston, your host of the ModGolf podcast, and we are having our weekly edition of ModGolf Live. And today my guest is Jared Doerfler, who is the founder of Hanna Golf. And I just connected with Jared a couple weeks ago, and just the story of the startup that he has here in the putter space with the company there. I'm not going to reveal too much at the moment here because I want him to tell this story. It's really great, really inspiring, kind of the ups and downs, having the courage to start a company in a space that is not necessarily what you spent your life or your career doing. So yeah, this is going to be a good one today. But before we get started, I'm going to do my usual thing here on Monday mornings. We are starting an hour earlier today. Usually we're at 9 a.m. Pacific time, where I am in Vancouver, or noon back east, but starting at 8 o'clock because I've got a charity golf tournament to go to today. So yes, got lots going on today in the golf space, but we're going to start it off with something we call Colin's Monday Morning Musings. What's gone on the last week, what I've seen, whether it's in golf or just life, some things that I've been thinking about that, hey, love to share with you. So yeah, to start off, the first musing is the interactivity here of what we have here with ModGolf Live. Like, I'm going to get into it. Jared is his why. You can choose anything to do with your time, with your career, with your life. And I'm really curious to drill down to find out why it's creating milled putters. But for me, people may ask, well, why did you create yet another media asset here with ModGolf Live? And of course, we've had the ModGolf podcast for over 7 years now, almost 200 episodes. And I met some awesome people, really creating community in the golf space here around innovation, inclusion, making it welcoming and making it fun. And then we launched the ModGolf YouTube channel a couple of years ago too. And we're really ramping up with that, with some different content. And yeah, just a couple of months ago, we launched the ModGolf Patreon community, which now we have over 100 members. We've got 10 very generous paid members, which I thank each and every one of them for, of which we're doing a ModGolf giveaway this morning. If you're a paid member, you get a chance to win something, and we've got something here I'm going to do just in a moment here. But ultimately, my why here to create this live show is to make it more interactive so that you, the audience, our community, our mod golfers can participate. And I'll be honest, some shows we have one person show up, sometimes we have 10 people, but myself as an entrepreneur also, just like with Jared, you just got to keep going, that consistency, and just keep moving forward. And I guess my kind of musings or inspiration this morning, now the Olympics are up and running here, seeing what's going on in Paris, and with Simone Biles, like what she has gone through over the last 3 years of having to pull out of the games 3 years ago in Tokyo there for her own mental health issues, and just not being able to perform at the level she wants to, and the comeback that she's had now, and celebrating that. That's something we want to embrace here in entrepreneurship, and also in golf, and also in life. You know what? We all get knocked down. We have our ups, we have our downs. Life is hard, but always getting back up off the mat, just like Simone has done. And so I encourage all of you to keep on going too, just like we're keep on going here with ModGolf Live. So yes, so for our ModGolf giveaway this week, so our winner is, let me just pull up the winner here. Let's see that we've got, and our winner today is Darren Wong, actually our newest paid member, monthly subscriber with the ModGolf Patreon, and our good friends at TaylorMade have donated some swag this morning. So yeah, he wins a couple of mini sleeves of their Tour Response balls here. Yeah, good stuff here. So Darren's going to get those, and also he gets a nice TaylorMade hat here. Yes, with their new their QI10 series here, of which I won a 3-wood to replace the 25-year-old TaylorMade 3-wood that I had. So yeah, got that in my bag now. So thank you, TaylorMade, for that. Who knows? Maybe we'll be giving one of those away in a bigger ModGolf giveaway. So yeah, Darren, thank you for joining the ModGolf Patreon community. I encourage all of you out there to join. Also, said we got a couple different levels here that you can join monthly. Not only do you get exclusive content like this and participating in it, but hey, you win some free stuff. And who doesn't love to win free stuff? So enough said there. Let's get going Jared joining us now, and we're going to bring him on screen. And there he is. Jared, good morning. Thanks for joining me on ModGolf Live.
Hey, Colin. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to chat with you today, and good luck in your charity event. Hopefully, you do well.
Oh, thank you. Well, the event today, they're going to be raising some money for leukemia. We're very heavily involved with mental health, for men's mental health and youth mental health, also with a lot of the work that we do and some of the charities that we support too, Jared. So hey, thank you for that. So hey, to get started here, Jared, because your story, what I've read on LinkedIn, you and I have had a chat before too. I just love this story here. It's taken a lot of bravery just to do what you've done, to kind of take that leap, to get out of that comfort zone of a career when you had a stable job and you decided, I understand, last summer, of taking this step into the abyss here. So here, I'm going to let you tell your story first. Why don't you let everyone know what you're doing with Hanna Golf, and then let's get into your courageous story of taking that leap into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, last summer I quit my job and emptied my bank account. My wife and I did, and went out and bought 2 CNC mills, which doesn't sound too crazy in itself, but I had no idea how to operate a CNC mill. So I spent about 8 months trying to figure out how to operate a CNC mill, how to design putters in CAD, and then how to make them in CAM with toolpath. So Hanna Golf is a putter maker, boutique putter maker. We're based in Iowa, and we mill putters out of 303 stainless steel.
Nice. So hey, why don't you let our audience know what because I've done work in architecture and with 3D modeling and CAD. Why don't you let people know what a CNC machine is?
Yeah, a CNC machine is a large machine that has a spindle, we'll call it, and then it has a table. And in that spindle, you put a tool in there. Think of a drill bit. And then on the table, you put your workpiece. And a CNC machine runs on an XYZ axis, and you can actually add 2 more axes in there as well, 4th and 5th. But generally most machines are 3-axis. So you start with a solid block of 303 stainless steel, and think of a drill bit, and it takes away tiny chips as we then start to form and shape that. Yeah, you got a little video up there, looks like right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna let this run here. So yeah, this, of course, I'm assuming you work very fast after way too much caffeine, but I have a feeling that's a bit of a time lapse. So yeah, so keep going. Tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, right here I'm just setting up the machine. So I've got 2 vices on the table, and each vice can hold 2 parts. So I can mill 4 putters at once. Now that's the first operation. To make my putters, I have 4 operations. I can only do 4, and the first operation is what I'm setting up here for. So that's actually about a 17-hour program to do those 4 parts there. Now I know I can get faster, and I can make my tool paths more efficient, and probably cut that down and reduce that. But in the interest of quality, I'm happy with where we're at. So I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, and then as time allows, I'll be able to start being more efficient with tool paths.
Love this. All right. So yeah, let's take that step back last summer here. So you and your wife empty the bank account. You decided to go for it. So you have a bit of a background, I believe. Your previous job and your background in business is working with, I don't know if it's a metalworking company, but you have some experience, at least being adjacent to actually creating products out of metal. Is that correct?
Yeah, in a certain sense. So I work for a manufacturing company in Iowa called Metalcraft, and what Metalcraft actually manufactures is durable asset tags, which that probably means nothing to anybody. But if you have a toll pass in your car, or if you are a frequent member at a car wash, that's an RFID tag. And so that's what Metalcraft manufactures, things along those lines, and some metal products as well. So it is a bit adjacent in the sense that, it's manufacturing, and manufacturing throws you very interesting curveballs that you don't expect often. And so you have to then, problem solve and troubleshoot to understand, what your issue is in the manufacturing process.
Got it. So I look at 7 years ago, actually 8 years ago, when I was thinking about creating a podcast. I knew nothing about how to create a podcast. but I saw this opportunity. There was no one talking about the innovation side of golf, the entrepreneurship side, the future of golf, even though they were talking about those things in podcasts and every other sector and industry. So I just kind of went for it and figured out as I went along. It's like, how do I create a podcast? What kind of a microphone do I use? What do I need for a setup? And kind of figured that out. So what was the most daunting part for you? Where were the gaps that you needed to kind of up skill, I guess you can say, to kind of fill these gaps? Or who do you lean on as far as your friends and colleagues to kind of figure this stuff out, since you've never actually used a CNC machine, and that's kind of integral into making milled putters? So tell us about that, as far as how you leaned on your community, because it's entrepreneurship, but it's hard, and lonely, so you don't want to go on your own. So who did you bring in to help you kind of fill the gaps with the skills that you needed to get where you are?
So really, really good questions there. I live in a small town. It's about 25,000 people, very blue collar. The funny thing about my town is there isn't a machine shop that's like readily available. There's a welding shop that's about a block away from where I'm at, but there's not too many CNC mills in town. I actually didn't know anybody that operates one. I learned everything by YouTube. So it's a unique community that I'm in. There's not much entrepreneurship, but the people that are in entrepreneurship have really supported me and cheered for me on the sidelines. And talk about those lonely days, because there certainly are. And in Iowa, it gets quite cold in the winter, and when you're inside all day and then it's dark and it's cold and you can't get outside and see the sun and exercise, and you're by yourself, it's tough. The challenge for me is I'm an extrovert, and working by myself is a bit of a challenge in itself. So not that I need to talk to people every day, but I really feed off positive energy, and so that has been difficult. But YouTube has been, I think YouTube's probably one of the greatest products out there, just because if you want to teach yourself something, you really can teach yourself something with just a few finger pecks and clicks away.
Right. So for our aspiring entrepreneurs out there, and I get this all the time with our Patreon community, and just in general, the people asking me questions on LinkedIn or wherever it would be, just they may have an idea for a product, for a service, whether it's in the golf industry or not. What did you do beforehand, before you actually bought the CNC machines and started making putters and then hoping that people would buy them? Where did you see the opportunity, and what is your kind of differentiator or kind of unique kind of angle with Hanna Golf and your putters, rather than just with your machine make 100 putters and then try to sell them and realize, oh gosh, maybe no one wants to buy a putter, except maybe I can sell one to my wife who doesn't need an extra putter. So tell us about that piece, just as far as how you got, let's say, customer validation or building up even the brand and the name with Hanna Golf. So what did you do first before you just did that, and did not do that mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs sadly do, is they create, they build something, make assumptions that people want this, don't know the price point, and just put it out there, and then they create something on time, on budget, that nobody wants to buy. So what did you do on the business side to validate this before you actually started milling putters?
Yeah, the first thing I did was I tried to find out what the total addressable market is for golf putters, which, there's some numbers out there, and they're probably pretty close. I also ran a couple surveys. So for the last 3 years, I've been writing about the business side of golf in a newsletter called Perfect Putt. Mm-hmm. And that has allowed me to kind of build a small audience and build, good relationships with folks. So I did some surveys in the audience, and then also talked to people around me that are smarter than me and what their thoughts were on this. And what I found is that, putters are actually sold at a higher amount than most people think. So now there's different studies, but, drivers typically the number one seller, and then putters is next. Now, so I have that, right? Total addressable market's probably around 2.5 million. Now, if you ever go in and pitch investors and you're like, hey, the total addressable market is 2.5 million units, if I just get 1%, they don't like that. So I'm not going to say that, but it's a really large market, large in a sense that it can support a small business. Like I don't anticipate this thing to blow up and be, a massive tens of millions of dollar business. That's not why I did this. but it is enough to support a small business with some employees. So, that was the first part: market research, total addressable market, and then also understanding strategy, right? As far as putters, how are you going to differentiate yourself? At the end of the day, you can really look at a few things that you want to do. And, story is one of them. Service is one of them. I do want to provide a good, valuable product that's made in the U.S. at a reasonable price. There's a lot of new golfers that are coming on board right now through COVID. And I think that, some of the equipment's probably gotten a little out of hand from a price standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to provide a good quality product made in the U.S. for a reasonable price. And I think we can do that. Although I'll just provide you one caveat before I end here is my dad is my CFO, if you will. He's a retired guy that can't get enough business in him. So he tells me that I have to raise my prices because, I've been selling putters since May actually. And there's just not enough data there, but he's a little concerned about the gross profit margin. But it can be done. We can sell putters at a reasonable price and a good quality product as well. It can be done at scale.
So that's interesting. Yes, the kind of the trial and error, the tinkering that you need to do with your price points for anything, whether it's a service or a product in this case. Obviously seeing what your competition is doing and being able to find where you are. But it sounds like what your dad is impressing upon you and kind of working through is kind of coming from two sides. One is that margin, whether that's usually you want about at least a 2.5 to 3% or 3x margin on your costs as compared to your price. And the other piece is the value you're providing, not necessarily the price. And it sounds to me, you've done the right thing as far as your sequencing is creating a community, an audience first that you can connect with, that you've cultivated trust with. And now they want to buy the putters because they believe in you. They've connected with you, and Hanna Golf is an extension of you and the community that you've already built. So with that, have you found that getting people through, let's say, that marketing funnel of the awareness that you've raised through the newsletter, that some of your early sales have been to the people that have subscribed to your newsletter?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was all really by accident. I started the newsletter, as I mentioned earlier, 3 years ago as just a side deal with not a lot of conviction, really a challenge from an instructor in an MBA program to write online. And, I didn't know anything about writing. I didn't know anything about, social media. I was behind a desk in a manufacturing company, and I enjoyed that. But I also enjoyed the challenge of of what he was saying of why we need to write online. So, I had no intentions of that. It's just all kind of been by accident. What I found is I really enjoyed the newsletter, and I really fell in love with the golf industry. It's a great group of people. It's very small, but it's also generally very kind and welcoming. Everyone knows each other in some sense. So, I wanted to be a part of it rather than write about it.
Nice. I love that. The active doing. Sometimes you get what they call paralysis by over-analysis and just waiting. And I will say that with a podcast, the mentor I had, a good friend out of Toronto that had a business podcast, he was about 6 months ahead of me. He not only encouraged me, but even more so, he held me accountable and kind of kicked me in the butt. Is like, just get it out there and do it. And I have to say, if he did not do that, I may be sitting here today telling all my friends over a beer about this golf podcast about innovation and entrepreneurship that I'm still thinking about doing. So sometimes you just simplify it, just do it, and just learn. As they say, the act of doing is the best way to actually learn, more than actually reading or studying, which is still effective, but the actual act of doing, not only the accomplishments, but also the mistakes. And I'm sure you've had a few putters on that CNC machine that haven't quite made it to market. You've really kind of learned those cakes didn't bake very well. So, but that's part of the learning process. So, I did notice that we have a couple of people that have joined us here live. So once again, it is interactive. If you want to ask Jared any questions about putters, about entrepreneurship, about starting a business, please jump in. And at the very least, yeah, just on YouTube here, just in the comments, in the chat, just introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and where you're joining us from. Because hey, love to hear what you have to say and what's on your mind. So hey, I want to ask you about this with the name and the logo with Hanna Golf. So what's the story behind that, and how does it relate to the brand?
Yeah, from a marketing standpoint, I'm not super creative. So I have two daughters. I took their names and I combined them to come up with Hanna. Nice. My oldest daughter, she's 4, and she's been sleeping with a stuffed animal, a tiger, for essentially the last 3 years. So I said, all right, let's try to design a tiger that looks a little bit different. So the logo is a tiger. If you can see, there's 2 eyes, and nose, and a mouth there with some ears. So that's really behind it. Path of least resistance. I think a lot of people get hung up on the details that don't matter. You can certainly screw up a logo and screw up a name, but at the end of the day, I don't think that we all need to have these firms come out and do these mood boards and logo boards. Just start. I mean, at the end of the day, you can always do a rebrand and refresh down the road. Really just start and figure it out. So for me, Colin, it was, path of least resistance. Let's just do this. I came up with it like in less than a few hours.
Love it. To start and figure it out as you go. And I didn't invent this saying, but I love this one. I've said it for years. Rather than demand certainty, we strive for clarity. So every conversation we have, everything we do, everything we make, it's just as far as turning stones over as we continue to walk forward and see what's underneath them. I know with so many cases, my previous life in architecture, a lot of the people I've worked with and a lot of people that I know, and it's not a criticism against their personality, it's kind of where they are, but they want all the ducks lined up in a row before they actually take a step. And as we know, there's no perfect. It is messy. Entrepreneurship is super messy, and we just have to figure that out as we go. So, hey, I do want to share your website here, and I want you to walk through your putters and tell us about what you got going on here. So here we go. I think we can see that now. Let me scroll up here. So here's your collection. So yeah, why don't you tell us about what's going on here, Jared?
Yeah, I started with 3 designs. I've got a 4th in the back pocket right now as a prototype as well. The Amarillo is a double wide blade. It's not as long as a traditional double wide blade. It's about as wide as a mallet, like a mid mallet. In the middle there, we have the Denver, which is a very unique take. That triangle design. It's a little bit smaller. Those two outer sight lines are the width of the golf ball, so it's a little bit smaller. It's heavier. 368 grams, and it swings the stroke very well. It's a good putter. It's interesting, but it's a good putter. And then on the right, which has been the most popular putter so far, is the El Reno, which is a mid mallet design. And that's kind of the first one that I really got after designing when I quit my job. And it took me quite a while to get there. I actually had to make an audible in February on the design because I just couldn't machine it the way I wanted to. So those are the 3 designs I have right now. All the putters are named after cities my grandfather lived in. My
Nice.
Grandfather was, in my eyes, a legend and a hero, for a lot of reasons. And so that generation was just very special. And without him and his sacrifices that he made, I wouldn't be here today. Able and fortunate enough to take a risk and do something crazy like start a golf company. So that's kind of an ode to him.
Love it. Love that. So I understand you're actually milling the putter heads. So as far as your supply chain, how did you figure it on the shafts and the grips? So tell us about the partners that you had and how you figured all those pieces out, just as far as putting the entire putter together rather than just what the good work you're doing milling the putter head.
Yeah, and Colin, that's a great question as well, because my background does involve some supply chain and standing something up. And so I thought that would be relatively straightforward. So, I got online, started doing some contact forms with, let's just start with grips. And I filled out about 4 or 5 contact forms with grip companies. No one got back to me. And what I started to learn is like no one really wanted to work with me because I'm small. I sort of understand that. So it is what it is. And I went to Ionic. I had an Ionic grip at one point in college. before I put a super stroke on, and I always enjoyed their grips and they were willing to work with me. So we have Ionic Hanna Golf grips on the putters. As far as shafts go, shafts wasn't, overly difficult, although I'm paying retail price for those shafts and I'm paying for sales tax. So I'm not tax exempt, even though it's not a finished good. So I gotta work on that. And head covers sort of similar to grips. That was a challenge to find a head cover company, and head covers are super expensive. I wasn't expecting them to be as expensive as they were, even in scale or quantity. So it took some time to kind of get there. But we got there, with some persistence and some resilience, we got there.
Nice. I don't know if you know him already. He's a couple of years ahead of where you are on your journey of creating golf equipment, but I don't know if you know Terry Kohler, who is the founder of Edison Golf, and they focus on wedges. And I'm actually having Terry. I've had him on the podcast before. They've been great as far as being part of our product reviews and on YouTube and our giveaways. Also, I'm gonna have Terry on it either next week or the week afterwards. Gonna see him after a couple of years, have him back on ModGolf Live. But happy to make that introduction, because if there's someone there that's kind of a few years ahead of you, that's kind of been through the run the gauntlet and continues to do so, that would be a great person for you to connect with. Do you know Terry? Do you know Edison Golf?
I do. I know of Edison Golf. Yeah, Colin. I'm not familiar with Terry though, and I don't know him. So yeah, that'd be cool.
Happy to do that. See, that's what we do here on ModGolf Live. This is what the Patreon community is about. As far as, like I said, I've been doing this for 7 years. I've had over 200 awesome entrepreneurs and innovators on, and just introducing them to each other to create this community. That's one of the kind of the great joys I have here, being able to do that. So be able to kind of plug people in together to create this community. So Jared, more than happy to make that introduction to Terry. The fact you're in the same space and you're not competing against each other too, this is really good. So more than happy to do that, because I'm sure he has lots of nuggets of wisdom, since he, like I said, he's about 5 years ahead of the journey of where you are. So happy to do that for you. Good stuff. Okay, hey, as we finish up here, just general questions in entrepreneurship. What will you say to our audience that are not only watching here, the few people that are watching live today, but also we will post this, as we always do, on our ModGolf YouTube channel, and lots of people can come back and do come back and watch afterwards. So for everyone out there, what would you say, what a couple of tips that you can give them, just as far as, let's say, cautionary tales, do's and don'ts, or some inspiration as far as taking those first couple of steps into the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, and I'll try my best here, since I'm still in the early stages and I still have a lot to learn. But there's two things that I think are relatable. Is the first one is, and an analogy I like to use is, park the boat close enough to the dock where you can jump. And what I mean by that is your income. So if you have an idea on something and you can work it as a side hustle, do it first. Now, I didn't do that with Hanna Golf, but I did, in essence, do that with Perfect Putt. I had some income coming in before that, so I was able to at least have a little bit of something on the side. and when I quit my job, that I was able to make a little bit of money on that to carry me through. And the second piece is, just do it. Just start. Like, it's never going to be a good time. Like, I look back in my 20s and now in my 30s, and it's never been really a perfect time to do it. And my wife is expecting with our third kid here in 3 weeks. And, I could have said it's probably not a good time to launch right now and do this, but there will always be a reason and an excuse not to do it. So just figure it out and go start and get after it.
Love that. Well, those are two nuggets of wisdom there in entrepreneurship that I 100% reinforce and support there. Exactly. Just start and yeah. It's we like to say it's mitigated risk, it's calculated risk. Don't and I've seen, sadly, a lot of entrepreneurs that get so hyper focused and fall in love with the product that they go all in, and before realizing the size of the market, the addressable market that you've looked at here, and also creating a bit of a community around this, to find out and validate, like you've done, to see if anyone would actually buy a putter for almost $300, or maybe even a little bit more, like your dad is pushing for, to actually get those margins up there a little bit for you too. So yeah, those are great pieces of entrepreneurial wisdom there. Even though you're just starting out, that's you're deep in the trenches here, so you're certainly living those, and that's helping move you forward here. So hey, Jared, why don't we finish up there today? I just want to thank you for taking the time to join us on ModGolf Live and sharing the story. And hey, hopefully not hopefully, we will stay in touch. And as you grow a bit, perhaps we'll have a fun giveaway with one of your putters. I know you're still scrapping away and you got to get to the next level, but yeah, that would be great. And we'll have to have you on again to kind of see how Hanna Golf is growing and what's going on with you as an entrepreneur and in your life. So hey, with that, Jared Doerfler, thanks so much for joining us on ModGolf Live this Monday morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Colin. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care. Have a great day.
You too.